It ain't just about the money. It's not. You know what it's about, man? It's about fucking those skeezers like that right there. It's about driving these fly-ass cars. And it's definitely about never dressing like a like you, man. Okay, man. Come on, man. Let's go be stars up in this joint, all right?
They're murdered, and for whatever reason, it goes unsolved. Today, during the 50th year of hip-hop, it's breaking news. And it's right in your background, because in some ways, you can kind of take credit for breaking this case. How do you feel about Keefe D being arrested in the murder of Tupac Shakur?
Now pay attention, bless me, please, Father. I'm a ghost in the killing fields. Hail Mary, catch me. If I go, let's go deep inside.
Well, I don't think I can take credit in breaking this case. I mean, Greg Kading. Originally, when Keefe D did the confession, did he assume that this would be like sealed up and never see the light of day?
Absolutely. I believe that was his mindset, is that it would never come out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it comes out.
And I doubt that he even knew that it was recorded. You know, he probably was unaware of the fact that it was being recorded.
Oh, so there wasn't a tape recorder right there when... No. Oh, it was like a hidden recorder?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. So he was being secretly recorded by the police while giving his confession.
Yeah.
A proffer agreement from Keefe years ago, where Keefe admitted to his involvement in Pac's murder. After the interview came out, and people, saw it and so forth, one of the things that was mentioned was there was some inconsistencies in our last interview.
I'm getting older now. There could have been a fight before this fight.
And then Keefe wrote a book. So he essentially broke his own case with that book. And my interview was the first kind of like serious sit-down interview with Keefe after that book was already released. We had gotten a copy of it. And the interview really follows the blueprint of that book. So, we played a role in it. I wouldn't say that I broke the case, though, you know what I'm saying? We have an involvement in it. And, I think it'll go down as history as, what it is.
Vlad, and I want to choose my words better. I think that it was your platform that really shined a big light, because if I'm not mistaken, has anybody done more interviews surrounding the life and death of Tupac Shakur than Vlad TV?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. But I think that's a testament to owning your own platform and making your own decisions. There's no way that like BET would have, co-signed so many Pac interviews or, stuff like that. They'd be like, all right, cool, you covered it. Let's go to something else. But the ability to greenlight my own projects, I think, is a benefit to someone who's passionate about something.
You know something? What is it about that case? Because you really have stuck with it and you've covered it from every angle imaginable. What is it about that case that really attracted you to it, that you would not let up on it?
Because Greg Kading also called for the Las Vegas Police Department to arrest you.
He did?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
I think what Greg Kading's point was that, when the incident happened, there were 4 people in the car. You're the only living person that was in that car right now. Everyone else has passed away since then. What witnesses were saying, though, was that when they saw the arm stick out the window and do the shooting, it wasn't a skinny arm. It was a bulky, hefty-looking arm. I think I found out about the story behind that case in 2007. I think. So you think it's been, 16 years? Mm-hmm. Since I've known the story behind what happened. Like it's still, even to this day, it's still an unsolved case, right? So you're fan, I mean, I was a big Tupac fan when I was, before even thinking about getting into the music industry. All Eyes on Me was one of my favorite albums. I listened to it religiously. Machiavelli, I thought was a brilliant album. And then, you know, his other stuff as well, I'd always check for. So you have this high profile murder in broad, you know, in public, in Las Vegas with arguably the biggest rapper of all time to this day. And it's completely unsolved. And then in 2007, someone I knew from LA that I was just hanging out with, they kind of like told me what happened. They're like, oh yeah, you know, that person knew Orlando and he was a Crip, and this is what happened, and this is the story, and I'm like, shit, like no one's been talking about this, like really. And in LA it was like common knowledge, like everybody knew about it. This was not some high ranking dude that was like somehow some inner circle. Nah, this was just a regular neighborhood dude that knew the story. So it just got me very intrigued in it, and so I started to kind of dig into it. And then when the Keefe confession tapes came out, the Proffer agreement, it was like, okay, now we actually have a person in the car who's somebody who knew Keefe personally.
After the interview came out, you know, and people, you know, saw it and so forth, one of the things that was mentioned was there was some inconsistencies in our last interview. It said that you ran into Suge and Pac the day before the incident happened, but people were saying that everyone actually was there. Everyone flew in the day of, so they weren't even there the day before.
Okay. It could have been a fight before, if I'm not mistaken. I'm getting older now. It could have been a fight before this fight.
What witnesses were saying, though, was that when they saw the arm stick out the window and do the shooting, it wasn't a skinny arm. It was a bulky, hefty-looking arm.
Well, I was in the passenger seat. No way, you know.
I'm not saying it's you. I'm saying that there's 4 people in the car, but they said it wasn't a skinny arm that stuck his hand out the window.
And with that, you know, we did our first sit-down interview with him. You know, that was his first. And I think he had done something on BET before, but this was the first sit-down, multi-hour life story interview about not just the event, but what led up to the actual shooting. And then what happened afterwards, and then all the affiliation.
Mike Tyson, Rory Horn, and Don King, they pulled up in the Azuras. That shit was looking like some Hot Wheels, man. Them same Rolls Royces, dude. And Suge came out, and I was in the valet waiting. He came and shook my hand. Made me look like a movie star, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if it was that fight, but it was one of them fights. You know what I'm saying? He came out with them Rolls. What's the name? It came with them brand new Azuras. That shit was look like Hot Wheels, dude. To them to Suge and them Rolls Royces.
He knows Big, and he knows Puff, and he was in this music video, and he was, you know, and Orlando was doing this, and you know, we were at these shows and whatever else to kind of just show how all the pieces fit together. So yeah, I mean, that was basically like the whole thing, how it came together.
Yeah, let me ask you something. You keep using the term a proffer agreement. What exactly is that?
A proffer agreement, aka Queen for a Day. What that means is, okay, so I mean, I'll just say, instead of, you know, bringing up just like a make-believe situation, what happened particularly with Keefe was he was caught in what I believe was a large PCP distribution situation where he was facing life in prison. PCP is a very, you know, high-end, you know, serious drug. So with the amount of PCP they caught him with his priors and everything else like that, he would have been definitely facing life in prison if convicted. So what they did, you know, the guy that was investigating it, Greg Kading, essentially offered him a deal. And this is what a proffer agreement is. It meant that, okay,
You know, he recorded you did the proffer agreement, all that can't be used against you. But if you choose to do interviews and talk about it again, that can be used against you.
He the one did it. He did that crooked shit.
Right.
You don't think that shit's crooked as a mother. He can get people killed behind that
when he
shit.
released the footage?
He had the fucking the Proffer deals. They don't record. You know
really?
You know they
That's part
don't
of the
record
deal.
that shit, dude.
Okay, I didn't know that.
FBI don't record. And he was set up there doing that illegal shit, dude. That shit was illegal. I would have never said nothing if I knew he had a fucking thing in his pocket. That was supposed to be a fucking secret to the fucking, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They even said sue his motherfucking ass.
And this is what a proffer agreement is. It meant that, okay, listen, we're going to ask you a bunch of questions about this case that's not the case that you're dealing with right now. Here's a totally other case, which we're investigating, which we feel that you're somehow involved in, which is the Tupac murder. So we're going to ask you all this stuff about the Tupac murder, and whatever you say can't then be used against you to convict you for your involvement in it. And if what you're saying proves to be true, you know, that if you're lying about a bunch of shit and we find out, you know, we can prove that you're lying, then the whole deal's off the table. But if we could prove that, you know, if we feel, based on our own investigation, that all this is true, then none of it can be used against you and you walk away from life in prison. Woo! AKA, so queen for a day, meaning that particular day you could say whatever. You could say, I killed all these people, I sold all these drugs, I kidnapped all these people, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is that you say could then not be used against you in a court of law. And as long as, now if you're caught lying, then like I said, it could all be thrown out. But all that was basically the deal. He did the deal. He told them everything they asked for. And then based on what they found, they're like, okay, cool, check. You did what you're supposed to do. We're dropping all these charges. You're able to walk free. The weird part about this is that, you know, Greg was secretly recording this.
And I doubt that he even knew that it was recorded. You know, he probably was unaware of the fact that it was being recorded.
Oh, so there wasn't a tape recorder right there when... Oh, it was like a hidden recorder?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. So he was being secretly recorded by the police while giving his confession?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's legal?
Oh, absolutely. All day long.
All day long.
Yeah, when you go into a police interview room, you better expect that there's a recording going on. You're not going to see the recorder, but it's...
Oh, wow. Oh, that's how it's done these days.
Watch any crime documentary, and you're sitting there watching videotape of a guy being interviewed, and that guy doesn't necessarily know that there's a videotape on.
Okay. Was he videotaped or just audio recorded?
Just audio recorded.
You know, I don't think he was aware that there was a recording happening. And then publicly released some of this audio footage. And that was sort of the basis of like, the documentary that he did, as well as, you know, I had some of that audio as well when I did the Keefe interview, because I interviewed Greg before.
So when Greg recorded it, did he record it on behalf of himself or behalf of the police department?
The police department. I forgot what exact. I don't remember if he was FBI. I don't remember what particular police organization he was working for. But he was doing an investigation at the time. But once he quit, he just took all that stuff with him.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
I don't know how legal or ethical this is, but that's what happened.
Got you. You know something? You spoke about queen for a day, king for a day type deal. Mm-hmm. Do you think Keefe was aware of the terms of this agreement? Because he later went on to write a book. Mm-hmm. He's done at least 2 interviews with you. He's been on other platforms telling his story. Do you think he mistook this Proffer agreement for an immunity deal?
I don't know.
Proffer deals, they don't record. You know,
really?
You know they don't record that shit.
Okay, I didn't know that.
FBI don't record. He was set up there doing that illegal shit, dude. That shit was illegal. I would have never said nothing if I knew he had a fucking thing in his pocket. That was supposed to be a fucking secret to the fucking, you know what I'm saying?
At the time that, you know, that you actually, that Greg Kading met up with you and recorded, you know, the Proffer agreement and everything else like that, wasn't there one other person that was still alive at that time? Was it Dre or who?
No, they had went through there already. Well, I was the last one to know, big dog.
Okay, so at that time there was no one else alive.
I was the last one to know.
You're the last one.
I believe the original one was actually done at his lawyer's office. So it's not like, and Keefe had a history of prison time, so it's not like this is someone who's oblivious to the legal system. I think that he is fully aware of how it works, and he, based on what he understood, he went and did what he did afterwards: write a book, do multiple interviews, and so forth. Now the question is whether the Proffer agreement will hold to all this other stuff that he's saying. That's the question, but that's up to a court of law. I think people are also mistaking, saying that Keefe's been arrested, the Tupac murder's been solved, it's all over. No, anyone can get arrested. You and I can get arrested right now. It doesn't mean that we're guilty of anything. It doesn't mean we're convicted. It just means that we got arrested. There was an indictment. Whoever signed off, the judge signed off on it, grand jury signed off on it, whatever. And we got arrested, but who knows what's going to happen?
As you sat down with this guy, Keefe, you sat down with him at least a couple of times. He opened up in great detail to you, but like you said, I'm going from your book. I'm using your own words. Yeah. We're just sitting down and having a conversation. Mm-hmm. Did you find, number one, it was easy to even get him in the building to talk to you? And once he got talking, did he just willingly tell the facts?
I mean, it wasn't really, him and I started talking, and, we came to an agreement to do the interview.
He's so full of shit.
He has his co-writer who's there with him. He was like literally in the first interview, he was sitting, to his right, my left. There were a couple of times where he was dodging certain questions.
Reggie Wright said that police came to his house to investigate the Tupac shooting and your involvement in it.
That's what I don't understand. Why is they keep asking this crooked ass cop shit? You know what I'm saying? Why they keep asking this crooked ass cop shit, man? Just like I said, when he said, bet you keep you getting locked up for Tupac murder? And I said, he need to be right in handcuffs with me for Tupac, for Biggie murder, because I know he had his hands in that shit. That was my get back to him.
If you watch the interview, I'll be like, well, but the book said X, Y, and Z. So, did it happen? Are you lying to the book? Are you lying now? I mean, how do you want to, how do you want to resolve this? And, and coming into the interview, I had the story from different angles, right? I had Edie from the Outlaws, who was in the car right behind when the incident happened. I had Chris Carroll, who was the first responder, who showed up on a bicycle.
You were on your bike.
Right.
And what happened?
Well, it's after the fight and things are busy, and there's all kinds of stuff going on up and down the strip. I was on my bike, right side, just on the what would be the north side of the MGM, because there was a lot of activity over there. I was on my bike, and over the radio, some other officers came on and said there's shots fired at the corner of Flamingo and Koval, and that there were vehicles fleeing the scene. So there's been shots fired, and they're they don't know which car is involved, but they're chasing a group of cars on their bike. Then they're headed westbound on Flamingo, which is towards the Las Vegas Strip.
Because the streets were jam-packed in Vegas for fight night. And then I had Greg Kading.
Right, because Greg Kading also called for the Las Vegas Police Department to arrest you.
He did?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, well, I did a deal with the U.S. attorneys, and U.S. attorney and the dude was from D.C., Justice Department. You know what I'm saying?
What Greg Kading's point was that when, he recorded you did the Proffer agreement, all that can't be used against you. But if you choose to do interviews and talk about it again, that can be used against you. What witnesses were saying, though, was that when they saw the arm stick out the window and do the shooting, it wasn't a skinny arm. It was a bulky, hefty looking arm. But they said it wasn't a skinny arm that stuck his hand out the window.
Who the witness?
Can't say.
Okay. They lying? Was they there?
Yes.
Who was the investigator, who wasn't actually there, but generally all the pieces were fitting together. There was a few times where like what he said doesn't really match up with what happened, but a lot of that is sort of unimportant details. The important stuff all kind of was a puzzle piece that all fit, and a lot of it was really, for me, it was a lot of I really dislike conspiracy theories. So the whole Suge had him killed. The government had him killed. The first responder had a dead body in his, on his bike that he swapped out with Pac. There's so many silly. Pac is in Cuba. Pac is still alive. Like all this kind of stuff that constantly goes around and starts to build and grows legs and starts to walk. I wanted to just kind of chop a lot of that stuff down and be like, okay, this is what happened. This is the chain of events that led up to it, and unfortunately, he passed away afterwards. Pac is gone. We're not gonna see Pac. And he's now living in some foreign country, or whatever else. He was a great artist. He had a lot of drama associated with him, and his drama led ultimately to his early demise. 25 years old, very young guy. I'm 50. I mean, that's like half a lifetime for me. So it's not that surprising. And, whoever tries to create an alternate story is going to be very hard pressed to make the pieces fit together.
Mm-hmm.